Dear Capcom, hi, I'm Ahmad. You don't know me, but I know you. See, I've been playing your Monster Hunter games a lot, and I'm not alone. There are a lot of other people who've been poking dinosaurs in the butt a lot as well. In fact, there are multiple subreddits fully dedicated to memorializing their ventures in killing reptiles, insects, and yes, even crabs. But I think it's time we talked. You see, some of us are getting an itch for an even greater hunt. I was scrolling through Reddit one day when I stumbled upon a rather interesting post by a Reddit user suggesting that we should put Zangief as a huntable target in Monster Hunter. We all had a giggle. Yeah, that would be pretty funny. I mean, Capcom's dabbled with putting Streetfighter characters in Monster Hunter before, it's tangentially relevant, and most everyone walked away and slept soundly that night, thinking nothing more of the idea. Except me. I'm going to take this idea to its logical extreme and convince you that it's time to introduce the most dangerous game into the Monster Hunter universe. The human, but not just any human. Capcom, it's time to introduce the Red Cyclone. Zangief, the Russian grappler of Street Fighter V. Zangief is described as a jovial behemoth whose love for borscht is only matched by his yearning to get stronger and exercise his muscles. He is fueled by an ancient energy called muscle spirit, which gives Zangief his foreboding stature and bulging muscles. I can only assume that muscle spirit is gifted to people who have inserted 100 Arnold Schwarzeneggers into a food processor and consumed them while running rocky steps, while also chugging a camelback full of raw egg yolks. Through the power of muscle spirit, Zangief stands at 6'11" and a whopping 400 pounds. His primary fighting style is a mixture of American and Russian professional wrestling, with his special ability being the ability to pick just about anything up and pile drive it into the earth with extreme prejudice. Zangief spent the majority of his professional career training in the rugged tundra of Russia, where he fought fucking bears. He wasn't just fighting them though. In the Street Fighter V character story mission, Zangief is shown picking a Siberian brown bear up and yeeting it across a bar for having a bad attitude. The average Siberian brown bear is 550 pounds. 550 pounds, that's 3 people's worth of weight. That's $500,000 in $1 bills. But wait, it doesn't stop there. The scars on Zangief's body are cited to have come from wrestling polar bears so that he can, and I quote, practice his screw pile drive attack. The average Russian polar bear weighs somewhere between 770 pounds and 1,500 pounds. And he would not only grab them, he would pick them up, bear skull betwixt his nethers, and slam them into the ground. That's a Tata Nano. Zangief can pick up a Tata Nano and pile drive it into the earth. Who is this guy? But that's still not it. Zangief has tanked shots from Balrog in Street Fighter. Now, Balrog has anger issues. You see, he once got mad at Dhalsim and punched his elephant once and killed it. Now, most guns can't do what Balrog has done with his fist. Usually, if elephants are shot at and hit anywhere other than their skull, they're going to survive due to how thick their hide, muscles, and bones are. Balrog has the stopping power equivalent of a 416 Weatherby Magnum in his fists. Now watch this clip from the Street Fighter V story and tell me how many punches the absolute unit that is Zangief soaked. 1, 2, and 3. Like, what? How? What? Why? That's insanity! So to say that Zangief is pretty strong and pretty durable would be the understatement of the year. But to be strong and durable isn't enough. Let's visualize the hunt. How would Zangief interact with our hunter and attack us? Well, that's pretty simple. Zangief has access to the flying power bomb, where he grabs his opponent from behind, does a backhand spring using his opponent's head in lieu of his own hands, before leaping into the air and driving their skull into the ground. Zangief also has access to the spinning pile driver, where he picks up the closest willing or unwilling object, puts their head in his crotch, jumps up in the air, and introduces them to their mutual acquaintance, the ground. But that's not all. Zangief also has access to the double lariat attack, where he rotates his body and fists rapidly, giving credit to his nickname, the Red Cyclone. While spinning, Zangief gets power armor and is unable to be stunned while using this animation. Then he has gap closing moves like the Banishing Flat, where Zangief engulfs his hands into fucking growth hormones of Christmas past to aggressively slap the shit out of your kneecaps. Now that we've got all the moves out there, let's take a step back to those pile drivers for a second. We've got to calibrate exactly how much damage we're looking at sustaining if we do get grabbed by this burly Russian monster. The pile drives that Zangief can do, they are very dangerous for the recipient. Let me explain. Zangief is 400 pounds, and let's say that he grabs a Ryu, who weighs about 180 pounds. Zangief then leaps up into the air, straddling your jaw with his legs as he prepares to return back to Earth and gingerly sit upon your face. That's a total of 580 pounds, or 263 kilograms. Once Zangief reaches the apex of his jump, the force of gravity is going to pull him back down, so we'll keep the math easy and assume that there's no magic muscle bullshit propelling him downwards towards the Earth, so negative 9.8 meters per second squared. The force formula, of course, is force equals mass times acceleration. So in our case, it's 263 kilograms times 9.8 meters per second squared, resulting in a force of approximately 2,577.4 newtons. Now, while doing research for this ridiculous analysis, I had to inevitably figure out how much force it takes to crack a human skull. After all, when Zangief pile drives you, your face is the first thing that's going to make contact with the ground, and oddly enough, I'm not the first person to ask the question of how much force is required to shatter a human skull. That episode of Game of Thrones where the mountain squishes that one guy's head to death? It really bothered people. They felt like they needed to know whether that was actually possible or not. So it turns out I'm not the only weirdo on the internet who wants to know how to squish a skull. Amidst the research, there are two studies that are regularly cited. One from the Journal of Neurosurgery, Pediatrics, and one from a Japanese study conducted by T. Matsui. The study from the Journal of Neurosurgery concluded that a force of 2,300 newtons was required for catastrophic failure to occur, which likely means that the skull exploded. Contrast this with the Japanese study that suggests over 5,000 newtons of force is required to shatter a human skull. Now, there are a lot of variables between these two studies that could cause the difference, and I don't have an abundance of human skulls in my backyard to do home testing. I mean, could you imagine me walking in my backyard? Oh, hey, Ahmad, what you got there? Oh, hey, Bill, just a sledgehammer and a box of human skulls. Don't you worry. Hope you're having a great Saturday. It should be noted, though, that the Japanese study indicated that the first signs of severe fracturing is around 1,900 newtons. And if that happens, you're looking at brain bleeding or seizures. So on the low end of the scale, we're looking at brain hemorrhaging. And on the high end of the scale, your fucking head explodes. It's like Zangief grabs you and pile drives you, and then the quest just cuts to black. Instant triple cart. If the force of this Russian monster sitting on my face was able to travel through my circuit board and set my computer on fire, honestly, I think I'd get it. If he has enough potential energy in his ass to vaporize your skull, how can he not be a monster? I mean, we have monsters like Kuluyaku, and the most aggressive thing that bird wields is a rock. And half the time, he doesn't even attack you with it. It just slams its beak in the ground. But let me recompose myself here, because that's not it. The seizures, the bears, the elephant-destroying punches, all of that is honestly just icing. It's not the cake. No, you wanna know what the real game changer is? Zangief in the Streetfighter 5 story mode gets attacked by a longsword player. The longsword player unleashes a full-fledged assault directly onto Zangief's skin, and he fucking shatters the longsword. We're toast! He's already bested our mightiest warriors. If the weebs can't beat him, then what do we have left? The fucking Charge Blade players, what are they going to do? Read their weapon manual at him and bore him to death? Not only does he one-shot you in a hunt, but he also shatters your rank 10 weapon and makes you re-grind the weapon. Game over, man. We stand no chance. I can see it now. This Russian thyroid problem is going to pick me up, straddle my face, wipe his gooch sweat on my brow, and kill me by sitting on me. Then he's gonna pick up my weapon, shatter it on his pecs, and then literally flex on the pulpy mound that was my body. So to just logically conclude the argument, let's say we do kill him. We now have to carve him, and I hear it now. Ahmad, that's a bit of an ethical dilemma. We can't carve people. Oh, but we're okay with my joke about crushing human skulls for science. Well, if you aren't carving him because of a moral dilemma, I'm carving him, and I'm taking your carves too. He just atomized my skull. I'm getting something cool to hopefully pay for my hospital bill. I personally think that the common drop should be Zangief's chest hair. Now, when you look at this man, what's the first thing you see? That's right, the giant arrow made of chest hair pointing to where your head's gonna go. I don't think it's unreasonable to think that this could be useful. After all, from the strongest muscle comes the strongest hair follicle. That's just science, right? And from the strongest hair follicle comes the strongest jerkin, shaped exactly like Zangief's iconic chest hair. Look! Now it is we with that chest hair for us pointing directly to our cock. What now, you filthy reptilian plebeian? Get ready to suck my... His medium carve could be Zangief's spare borscht. A borscht is a type of soup, and according to the wiki, Zangief likes it. So I think it's pretty reasonable to believe that he has a little Tupperware in his pocket, and you can make use of that as a weapon. Think of it like Elder Dragon blood. By mixing metals with borscht, you refine them and make them stronger, creating weapons with the very muscle spirit fueling Zangief himself. And for his rare drop, I don't know, maybe a little Russian polar bear plushie or a copy of the Communist Manifesto. I don't know. Look, Capcom, I just did the math. I can't do all the work for you. I think really the last thing we need to cover is what kind of weapons would Zangief likely create? And I think I have an answer. The weapons would be symbolic pieces of his self. For example, the greatsword would be in the iconic shape of his chest hair pattern, or the bowgun that's literally just his head open to fire Russian shit out of. The weapon line would primarily be raw damage weapons with a negative affinity with a secondary damage source of Russian. What is Russian damage, you ask? Thank you for asking. Russian damage has the chance to spawn a bear who will pile drive the nearest monster. I'm always bitching about how we need more gameplay mechanics anyway, so there you go, Capcom. I wrote you one pro bono. You're welcome. As I've laid out, introducing Zangief would be a delightfully painful way to terrorize your players. No need to create a Lovecraftian squid monster when you can just repurpose those assets that you already own. I eagerly await the addition of this event quest. Sincerely, Ahmad. We're all gonna fucking die if they listen to me. Hey, thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, drop a like and subscribe. It really helps out with the algorithm. And if you want, maybe check out one of these other videos. That's some of my more analytical content on Monster Hunter. Thanks again, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.